It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another Real Estate Podcast, the end of another working week as we continue to talk about your property news, your trends, and what is happening from the Gold Coast to Melbourne. You can hear us on multiple platforms, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. Yeah, Friday morning, February the 14th. Gee, almost halfway through the month. March is going to be here before we know it. And as we mentioned last week, real estate experts up and down Australia are feeling optimistic about 2025, with 65% predicting house prices will rise, driven by improved affordability, rising incomes and potential interest rate cuts. That is according to a CoreLogic report. Queensland is expected to see the strongest growth, while Melbourne, as we highlighted, may rebound as affordability improves, and higher incomes could boost demand later in the year, though price growth, they do say, may be slower than 2024's 4.9% increase. Now, how are you feeling all about that as a buyer of property? It's all well and good about talking about these prices going up, but for those trying to get a foothold onto the property ladder, you probably ain't that excited. Real estate coins, they really are always minted with two very different viewpoints. Now, this morning, we're going to be having a look at some tax depreciation, and right now it is time to welcome in Daniel Farrugia, who is the Director at TDA Tax Depreciation, and a very good morning to you, Daniel. Welcome into the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Thank you, Craig. Good morning to you. It's great to be here with you today.
Now, you guys do tax depreciation, so I guess you are dealing with a lot of property investors that want the best sort of advice.
Yes, we specialise in the preparation of tax depreciation reports on investment properties all across the country.
Now, on Tuesday, we talked about how many millennial investors are missing out on valuable financial benefits in the real estate sector simply because they're unaware of the deductions available for their rental properties. No doubt that is something you're seeing walking in the door, you're on the phone, you're talking to people, and I guess it's a little bit of a frustration about the whole process here where people are potentially missing out.
It is definitely. We're seeing it across all the states at the moment. They've just purchased their first property, or it might even be their second property that they've just purchased, and they're unaware of the benefits of a tax depreciation report. We're finding that the reason that's the case is a lot of millennials now are not seeing an accountant, so they're not getting that accounting and taxation advice. So they're unaware of it. And as you know, with property investing, there are so many various facets to know for owning a property, and the tax depreciation benefits, unless you've been through it or have had advice about the benefits of tax depreciation, it's an unknown. So people are just missing out on these tax deductions, essentially, which is ultimately costing them money that they could be entitled to.
So what's the deal there? What is the disconnect? Why are they not talking to accountants and getting professional advice?
Look, some of the feedback that we're receiving from our clients is that just due to the cost of living pressures, they've had to make certain cuts in their expenditure, doing their own taxes through the ATO online portal as well. It is a crucial piece of information that they need to be aware of. And that's why having a close-knit group of advisors like an accountant on your side to really give you that advice and that taxation advice that's tailored to you as an individual property investor is so crucial today.
Yeah, so trying to save money, I've never really sort of understood why people decide to try and save money, cut corners and cut out the accountant, the tax advisor, because my experience, as with most people, the amount of money that you spend, you're getting it back. So if you're a millennial listening to this morning, go and see an accountant, a tax expert, because you will end up saving money. Now, you guys are quoted as saying that for a brand new 3-bedroom house, landlords can potentially claim between $10,000 and $15,000 in deductions within the first year. Many, once again, they're surprised by this, but they shouldn't be if they look at all the devil in the detail.
That's exactly right. And look, $10,000 to $15,000 for a brand new 3-bedroom home is very typical. You look at all the construction cost increases we've been having over the past few years as well. The result of those construction cost increases is that property investors are now seeing higher deductions because those cost increases is resulted in higher build costs, which ultimately means the end investor can now claim higher deductions as well. And those figures can go up higher as well for 4-bedroom homes, for apartment complexes as well. They're very typical figures, and they're figures that no one should be scoffing at. If you're in that boat where you have just purchased that new property or that old property, you really need to be getting that advice from your accountant and talking to a quantity surveyor about a tax depreciation report.
Yes, the depreciation tax reports, they are just so crucial. They are a crucial tool for property investors looking to maximise their returns. We are talking with Daniel on our Friday morning. In just a moment, when we come back, we're going to be having a look at this whole co-investing and whether that is increasing. So we'll do that next.
It's the Real Estate Podcast, talking properties from 6 a.m. every day, from every corner of the Australian real estate market.
And right now it is time for another property tip, and we're going inside Victoria and catching up with Kate Ashton again. She's from Maryborough, and a very good morning to you, Kate. You've got a property tip for us this morning?
Good morning, Craig. I certainly do. So if you're going to an area to look at purchasing property and you haven't been there before, my high suggestion is go and stay there for a few days. Probably not on the weekend, but immerse yourself. And when you get there, turn right, turn left, see if people say hello, look at what is important to you and if it connects to you. You will connect with a house and a house will connect with you, and the same as a community.
And also really important that if you do that, to be talking to key people inside the street or even wider outside of the street to find out the flavour.
Absolutely. Ask random people, do you live here? Why do you live here? What's great about living in this area?
If you're a new listener, welcome. We talk to the most knowledgeable real estate experts across Australia every day from 6 a.m.
And it is a Real Estate Friday, talking your property real estate news around Australia. And Daniel is with us, giving us some great advice. Daniel, co-investing, as I said, it's becoming increasingly popular among millennials as they seek to share financial responsibilities with friends or partners. I mean, this is such a great idea. Of course, it's going to halve the amount of money that is coming out of your hip pocket. How much of that inquiry at the moment are you seeing?
It's on the rise. It's something historically we haven't seen a great deal of, but since the last 2 years, we have been seeing some increase in that co-investing space. And from a depreciation perspective, when you do go and buy a property with your friend or with a family member, the depreciation deductions will provide 2 different reports. So one for each of the investors, or if there's more investors that are part of the syndicate that have purchased into that property, you'll all get your own depreciation report so that you can then take it on to your accountant, your tax advisor, which will result in the accountant not needing to prorata the deductions because your individual report details the deductions that you are entitled to as that part owner of that property. So we are seeing an uptake in it and an increase, and with the increase of property prices across the country as well, it's something that as a business we're expecting to see increase as well.
And if you're actually looking at going in with somebody, let us know what your dynamic is. We would love to hear from you. Of course, the email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us some of the thinking, the rationale behind making that decision. Another question for you this morning, Daniel, is that people have this common myth about buying older property and not having any depreciation attached with it. But they are quite wrong, aren't they, when it comes to that?
Most definitely. And that's a very common question that we hear at TDA. People call us up and they say that, look, I bought this property and it's built in the 1950s. I've heard that there's no depreciation deductions available on it, but can you just confirm that for me? Because I know of the benefits of depreciation, but it's an old property. Is there anything I can claim there? Look, it's a very common question and it is a myth. So old properties, new properties, you can claim depreciation deductions. What we look for within the old properties, however, is has there been renovations done to the property? Has there been a new kitchen put in or a new bathroom, or has there been an extension or first floor addition to the property? And what we find is so many of the older properties that we have in Australia now have all been through renovations. Australians love to renovate property. The various TV shows and the culture that we have in Australia with the love for property, there has been so many renovations.
And just finally, the types of properties for depreciation. I think this is a good one to run through because, not everybody knows the different types.
Yeah, definitely, Craig. So it's all types of properties can benefit from depreciation. It's not only the residential properties, it's commercial properties as well. So it could be a commercial office space. It could be a warehouse. It could be an agricultural property or a dairy farm. And it's also properties that are owned within your self-managed super fund as well. So that's something that we find a lot of investors don't know. So if they've gone out and they've taken on a self-managed super fund and bought property within that fund, they can benefit from a depreciation report as well. The other interesting thing is as well, if people are buying residential properties and wanting to use them for short stay accommodation like an Airbnb property, it's all the furniture within the property as well that can be included within that tax depreciation report as well. So you can get high deductions as well from claiming all that furniture that you put into the property.
All right, some very good advice. Hey, Daniel, thanks for that. Thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning, sort of breaking all of that down, and enjoy your upcoming weekend.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for having me, Craig.
We help to break down real estate every day to help you better understand the Australian property market.
But don't go do it because someone said to do it because that's the way you should bid at every auction. It's horses for courses. What price you genuinely think this property is worth in the current market conditions with the amount of bidders that you're expecting to attend? What do you think it could actually go to at the top end?
Yeah, let's talk about body language because some people can be very animated and it can be just as telling as the bids themselves in terms of the way somebody is behaving. Do bidders, do you think, unknowingly give away too much information? And auctioneers, they are masterful the way that they study the room. You are being studied, no question about it.
How could someone avoid showing their poker hand too early? Well, firstly, don't go up and shake the auctioneer's hand before you start saying, my bank's given me the approval, but a bid to 1.2. I've borrowed 50 grand off mum and dad, I'm going to go to 125. So don't do that, because there's giving away your poker hand, isn't it, Craig?
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.